Good evening, everyone. First, let me begin by profusely apologizing to the board, to the community, and everybody who's been waiting. There was a lot of business that we had to take care of in the back, and I was just commenting to Superintendent Lochner that I believe this is the latest we've ever come out to public from a regular business meeting. So again, on behalf of the entire board and all of us back there, I do apologize. So with that being said, I'd like to invite everybody to please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to also just kind of outline what the protocol for tonight, and probably in all meetings into the future, as long as we have to deal with this COVID situation, is that during these meetings we are expecting that the public do maintain their masks. Everybody should have their masks on. We kind of separated the chairs with the hopes that anybody who is speaking could do so by removing their mask, and anybody coming to the podium could essentially remove their mask while they're there. But then we're hoping that, you do go back to your seat and put your mask back on. So with that being said, I'm going to go to questions on agenda items. So the question comes from Mr. Moss, Brentwood resident. This year's transportation issues were astronomical and unforgivable. After receiving my email about overworking the bilingual department, why would you add the two positions together? This is educationally unsound. Whose idea was this? And I believe that we are talking about the item on our agenda that refers to Ms. Ortiz being the secondary education assistant superintendent and bilingual education.
D1.
Mr. D, yes, D1, D1D.
E.
Okay, D1E. Oh, you know what, and excuse me for a minute. So prior to these meetings, whenever we make adjustments to the agenda, I'd like to announce them. So there is an additional phys ed teacher that we will be placing on our agenda. His name is Blake Crespo, and I'm talking about D1A. So we will be adding a Mr. Blake Crespo. The position would be phys ed. The certification status is initial. Start and end dates would be 9/27/21 to 9/26/25, and the step is MA1. There's additional language that needs to be modified on one of the items of the resolutions, but it is of no significance in terms of what we're trying to do there.
What number is he going to be?
Excuse me, what was the question?
What number is he going to be?
Oh, I have him listed on the first item that says removed, so it would be item number 3.
Thank you.
Mr. Lochner, would you like to take the question on number 1 about the combining of the departments, bilingual and secondary? The Ortiz question, in terms of why we're doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, actually, it looks like we're combining 2 entire positions, but we're actually not. Some of the duties that Ms. Ortiz had as the assistant superintendent in charge of bilingual, it was also registration and attendance. That actually, those duties have been removed, as well as other duties have been removed. And on the secondary position, there's also there were some duties that were attached to Dr. Akil prior to her leaving, and those duties have also been reassigned.
Thank you. And the next
Is there a
question.
reason why they're not part of this resolution, those duties?
Well, I mean, so I'm trying to avoid the back and forth because we're trying to change how we're doing. So one of the things, Mr. Lochner, is that you forgot.
Listen,
What you
honestly,
forgot, what
come
you
on.
forgot to mention is that we actually changed the title. She was overseeing the intake as part of the bilingual component, right?
Yes, right, and she's no longer
Yep.
overseeing that.
is there a job description that you have in front of you that you are voting on as board members?
We had a posting that we have a job description for the board. I can certainly, we don't have that with us tonight, though.
So has the board seen that job, has everybody on the board seen that job description?
Mr. Moss, I'm not going to.
No, this is a very important, this has to do with.
I'm not going to
This
do
has
the
to do with the
exchange.
legalities of making a new position. As a taxpayer, I want to know if the board members are voting on an item that they've seen the job description so that they understand that this is really a 50% situation or not.
The resolution before us is what it is that we're voting on
Mm-hmm.
tonight. So all that information is there, and that's what we are going to be acting on tonight.
So it's fair to assume that the board
I'm-
members have
I'm-
not seen the job
I'm
description.
not going to answer, I'm not going to do the back and forth, the exchange. Question number two.
I have questions on the board agenda items. You're going to answer those questions. You're not going to go around and not answer questions.
Okay.
So I have a question. Has the board seen the job description?
The board has been a part of this decision that has been that we've
Just
been
answer the
working on.
question, yes or no.
We're answering the question.
Okay.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
the answer is no.
Mr.
No,
Lochner, we're just,
I
we're
got
just,
it.
we're
I
just,
got
we're
it.
just
I got
not
it.
doing
The
it.
answer is no.
We're just not.
Financially, I do have questions on the finances of this position because they're not here in this resolution. So can you please explain the salary agreement for this new position that you're creating tonight? Dollars and cents, what the salary is going to be, what the raise is going to be, what the length of that contract is going to be. And because I have follow-up questions about what you are doing with $200,000 a year, that the budget that we voted for as a budget, why you are putting two positions together on one person when we just got millions of dollars from the government. I want to know what you're doing with that $200,000 because I would much rather have a brand-new secondary education assistant superintendent than to have one person doing two jobs. It's educationally unsound what you're doing. There's no good reason for it.
Okay, Mr. Moss, that is your opinion.
Absolutely, and this is where I get to stress it.
Okay,
Right before
if we-
the board gets to vote.
We heard
And that's
your
the
opinion.
American way.
Okay, great. We heard your opinion. Move on. That's your opinion. My opinion is.
It was
this
a
is the
question
best-
actually about the finances.
This is the best decision for the district.
Can you please tell us as taxpayers how much the salary agreement that the board is voting on tonight is going to be? Because it doesn't appear to the public. And that needs to be voted on.
So, Mr. Moss, what I'm asking you to do, right, is in the future, please list your questions, right, on the.
Mr. Feliciano, I would love to list the questions on that sheet. That sheet is available to the public at what time? Your agenda is available to the public at what time? This is a working class community. I'm on the road driving home when you publish your agenda. That is ridiculous. How can people formulate questions when an agenda goes up at 3 p.m.? How is that even possible that you're going to put a system into place that where it makes it impossible for people to be able to look at this long agenda and come up with questions in writing for you? The system is ridiculous, and you are purposefully doing it to hide whatever you're doing, just like you're hiding the money right now. How much is she getting paid to do this job? The taxpayers deserve to know. Why won't you tell us right now? What is the big deal?
I'm not doing this, Mr. Moss.
Wow. You're not going to answer a question about how much somebody is going to make in salary tonight that you're going to vote on? You're not going to answer that question?
Salaries of all public employees are a matter of public information.
That's right, when they're voted on.
Yep.
And if you don't vote on it, you don't vote on it. It means it never happened. So could you please tell us what she's making tonight?
Do you have another, actually, you do have another question, and that is, did D1A numbers 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14 have prior paid teaching experience?
Can you say the numbers again?
So the question is, did D1A numbers 1, 2, 4,
You can add 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, and 14 have prior paid teaching experience? 1 through 14. Mr. Loshiner, do you want to try to take that? And that's hard to do from,
No, it's not. You have the materials in front of you, I would hope. You have resumes in front of you. You could just tell me. If you don't have resumes in front of you, I don't even know how you're voting on candidates.
Okay, Mr. Moss,
Come
Model teacher.
I'm looking
It's not
at
hard
the
to do.
names, Mr. Moss.
Thank you.
And I may ask my assistant
Sure.
superintendents who
That would be
obviously.
great. Thank you very much.
Now, I can speak to most of them, okay? Number one, yes, he's been working for the district, and that's a recall from the Pell list. So just for everyone's edification, somebody who's recalled from the Pell list does mean, in fact, they had prior teaching experience in the district. Number three, he has been a part-time teacher for us for a number of years, as well as a perm sub. Number four is the same thing, a part-time teacher for us for a number of years, as well as a perm sub and a leave replacement and various others. I am not certain about number five. I'm probably going to ask, okay, Ms. Young, prior experience. The same with the social worker who, yes, the two social workers I believe we're bringing in have experience. Okay, and I guess number seven, was that a question, Ms. Young?
yes,
Yeah, it's,
1 through 14.
The number 7, I believe she does, but I don't have her. You have it? She does.
and the same with the, I know number 8 has prior teaching experiences. The speech teacher, I'd have to find out number 9 as well.
So based on the salary.
But every single one of these teachers, as I've reiterated, almost on a monthly basis, have gone through the hiring committees as per 9240, a hiring policy. They've also met, they've also been vetted. The applications have been vetted by our diversity consultant, who actually meets with the assistant superintendents and goes through each of the resumes, vets the resumes. She's part of that process, and then she's part of the interview process for many of these people. I'm not going to say that she sat on every one of these committees, but most of the committees she has sat on and has been a part of that hiring process. So I guess I think I'm up to what, number 8, the speech teacher. The ENL teacher, I believe, do you know number 10? Does for prior experience, number 9. Number 10 does, it doesn't? Okay. Number 11, we skipped, and the social worker, I do know he actually has experience in a school district. He's coming to us. By the way, many of these, I should point out that many of these teachers are actually Brentwood Brentwood residents as well as Brentwood graduates, many of these. As you know, many of our hires over the last several months. Michelle Rodriguez, number 13. Ms. Palmer, she had prior experience. And the speech teacher, number 14. Prior experience as well.
Number 2, could you go back to number 2, please?
Yes, Mary Lou, yes, she has prior experience.
Next question that we have is, next question that we have is from Ms. Oyola, and she's asking about D1B, the non-certificated personnel, and I believe that she's referencing the pages 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And she asks if these increases in hours are permanent, and she was under the impression that the increases were only supposed to equal 6 hours, but she sees that some members have 6.5 hours. Just asking, were there some of the principals that chose not to have any increases?
So
Are these increases the principal's choice? So I can ask you, so are these increases permanent, Mr. Lochner?
yes, these increases are permanent. Hello, Carmen. These increases are permanent. There's a number of reasons that obviously that we did this. We did want to, besides giving additional hours where needed, we did ask the principals if they needed additional support. Obviously, it's been a year and a half since we had all of our students back in school. So there are some concerns there in terms of managing the building properly. TAs and monitors are absolutely critical for that. So we did ask all of the principals, who then subsequently, I believe, asked all of your members. And I believe just about all of the members were very grateful for the additional hours.
Yes.
They were given, and they will remain in effect, and beyond this year as well.
Okay.
Mr. Lochner, so I could see that number 182, number 187, and number 188 have the 6.5 hours as the total new hours. So this is item number 182, item number 187, and 188. They're the only three that have the 6.5 hours that I could see.
I'd have to go back and research. There were some monitors, Carmen, who actually for many, many years were actually assigned a certain amount of hours.
Right,
And then every day they were doing additional hours, and they were submitting paperwork, for the extra 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And it was, obviously that was then going to payroll, who then had to process that overtime. So I imagine that some of these positions are falling into that category and
Mr.
were
Rush.
needed for that 6.5.
Mr. Lochner, so
But I think-
were there any principals that chose not to have any increases? Was that a principal's choice? I guess that is the next question, so it's a combination of both. So were there any principals that chose not to
Right.
have increases, and was that a principal choice?
It was a principal choice. If they thought that they had a sufficient number of TAs and monitors with the correct amount of hours, then they maintained those hours. But I think most of them took advantage of the additional hours.
Now, I know for a fact some, said they couldn't, they have babysitting issues.
That could be
They have
it
a
as
second
well.
job.
Right.
So they were like, but if I say no, am I penalized? I said, no, I don't think so. You're
Not
not
at all.
being penalized at all. But my only concern is that, you have members in each school, and well, I got 6 and I got 6.5, and they're gonna call me.
Right.
I don't want that headache, so I'm going to direct them and speak to the administrator. They were the ones that.
Right. I
That
think
was-
Ms. Young also knows why.
I was gonna say sometimes, some CPAs or monitors come in early to help with the busing
The buses.
Right, right.
Right.
No, I know many of them had that extra time sheet and payroll didn't care for that. So this is a great thing for them that they were able to increase those hours. But again, those that have the 6.5, I'm happy for them. But one of the other members, well, she got this and I didn't. Speak to the principal, don't talk to me, it's not a union
Right.
issue, I didn't do it.
Right, right.
I don't want that.
Next
Okay.
next questions are coming from Mr. Cuomo. I believe, Ms. O'Connor, maybe you might be able to address this. What is B2S? If you can give an explanation of what B2S is. What is this? Contract for Nmg Evaluation.
NMG works with our science programs, our Smart Start grant, and some of our title programs. They do evaluations for the state, and some write-ups as well. They help us with the write-ups and the closeouts of grants for the state. They have good knowledge of the state and how they work and what we need, like within our grants and within our final narratives for the grants. They've been very helpful throughout the years.
Have they worked for us before?
You know, Mr. Cuomo, again, I'm going to ask that next time you please list these
Well, I
questions.
can't ask a follow-up question.
Please answer these questions. Ms. O'Connor, have they?
So
have they-
let's get rid of the
worked?
podium then.
And maybe that's what we'll have to do.
It might have to be.
Okay.
We'll bring our own in. She answers a question and there's a follow-up question to it.
Ms. O'Connor, has this organization done business with the business? And that's hard, I
Thank
don't know
you.
if you remember.
No, I said they've been very helpful throughout the years within the response. Yes, they've worked with Dr. Grella numerous times.
Okay, thank you.
The next question is B2T. Mr. Lotion, I believe this is for you. Why only at South Middle School? This is the contract for McTighe and Associates Consulting, LLC.
Okay. If I may. South Middle School actually is a school, it's actually an identified school, and they get a school improvement grant, and they do have several options that they may choose to spend their money on. And in this case, South Middle School chose this particular contract, Understanding by Design, to help them with professional development this year. I did happen to speak to the principal of South Middle School several times over the summer as he and his staff actually thought about what best to bring in this year to take a look at instruction, and Understanding by Design is what they chose. So they're spending their SIG, as you can see on the bottom, it says their school improvement grant. They're actually spending money from that school improvement grant on Understanding by Design, which is, by the way, a fabulous program.
Is South one of our borderline schools?
Well, I'm not following what you mean by a borderline.
Is it an identified school?
It is an,
Is
it
this
is an
the reason why?
identified school, and you know what, I really hesitate saying that it is, but because the state, because of the pandemic the last few years, that APPR has actually not been, we have not used the APPR, and unfortunately, our schools who were identified several years ago, I really believe would be out of identification, but unfortunately, because APPR was not utilized the last couple of years, these schools still remained on a list, and that's very unfortunate. The only positive is that we've received some grant funding that we've used, quite well over the last few years in terms of professional development. But in all honesty, I'm convinced that once APPR kicks in, these schools will be out of identification.
Mr. Lochner, so the next question is B2U, dates on calendar. Mr. Cuomo, I don't know what that question is.
Well, I don't know what is written here. Okay, you want to adopt a budget calendar. Well, how can you adopt a budget calendar if you don't know the dates?
Ms. O'Connor, can you address this? B2U, or Mr. Lotion, I mean, I don't know if you, the budget calendar?
The budget calendar, we follow basically the same meeting schedule every year for our budget development meetings. We start the second week of January. We have our first meeting on a Thursday, then the fourth week in January on a Thursday, first Thursday in February. The next meeting is the first Thursday in March, and then we usually have one meeting after that. The budget vote itself is always the third Tuesday of May, and about 13 days before that, on a Wednesday or a Thursday, is the budget hearing, on the Thursday. A week and a half. No, that's in May. The vote's in May. The hearing would be 10 days before that or so, whatever that Thursday is. 12 days, actually.
Will this be posted on the website?
It's on our district calendar. It'll be on our district calendar because that's interactive, so we could just add the dates to that, so sure.
And the last question is D1H. Mr. Lochner, if you could address this. What are the changes? So I guess it's an explanation of D1H.
Okay, that's actually a great question, Andy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're actually not adding, our goal is not to add additional staff. However, for many, many years over in special services, we've actually employed TOSAs, and we actually use them during the school year and into the summer months, and they have to be compensated for that time. And we thought it best to actually make these administrative positions that would report directly to Ms. Young. It would make us more efficient in special services, and I believe in the long run will also save us money.
What are we doing about the intake? Since we're moving her up?
I'm sorry.
What are we doing about well, I was told not to use the mic as much,
Okay.
because I have a loud voice. Okay?
No.
I was told, what are we doing about Wanda's intake position?
What we're doing is tomorrow adjusting the table of organization, and that position will report to both assistant superintendents, one for elementary and secondary. So the table of organization obviously needs to be adjusted because of some of these changes, and that usually takes place after the hiring of those people. It will be published after we hire the person.
So we're not going to move up a person in her staff to do that job? Or are we going to hire someone from?
Well, you have to understand, the way it has worked is that we do have a coordinator of intake and registration. That's Dr. Ramos. She is remaining in that position. All we did was that she reported to Ms. Ortiz in her last position as the assistant superintendent in charge of bilingual.
Right.
So the department itself will see no changes in its working. They will still have Dr. Ramos in charge. The staff will remain the same. All that will change is who does Dr. Ramos report to. And she actually works closely with the entire cabinet. So it really will not be, it will be a completely seamless change to have her report to two assistant superintendents.
So, Mr. Lotion, we're not going to hire?
Mr. Cuomo, I'm sorry, but we're.
No, I'm sorry.
The same rules
I'm
apply-
sorry
the
that
same
you're
rules-
president
the same
and you're
rules apply-
conducting
the same-
a communist kind of attitude here.
The same rules.
That you don't
apply
let the
to you
public speak.
As they do to Mr. Moss. So we're done with that.
Mr.
Please-
Lochner.
Please list those questions.
Mr. Lochner.
On this form, the next time you come in, we've talked about this.
And you might already hire someone by then.
Okay, so we're.
I'm asking, is Ms. Ramos, Dr. Ramos, going to take over her duties? Because if she's a qualified person, which all my indication says she is, I don't want her starting something and then we bring in someone from out of the district. And we now have another salary to pay. We're consolidating other positions. If she's doing the job, Miss Doctor, is it Doctor? Doctor. All right, if she's doing the job, give her the job. Don't bring in people just because they're friends or past acquaintances.
If I could just address that.
No, don't even, look, we're
Well, I
done.
don't-
We're moving on, we're moving on. No, it's just, we have to play by the same rules.
Yeah.
I said this to Mr. Moss, I'm saying this to you.
don't play by the same rule when you
So-
put a time that the meeting's
So we are
supposed to
going to go with consent agenda. Be it resolved that the following items be approved, B1A through B1M. Could I have a motion, please? Could I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Be it resolved that the following items be approved, B2A through B2X. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Be it resolved that the following items be approved, C1A through C1B. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. We're now moving to the D items. D1A, appointments, resignations, and leaves of certificated personnel. We will amend this item. I'm going to need a motion to amend it so that it reads as follows. It would be item number 3. The name would be Blake Crespo. The position would be phys ed. Certification status would be initial. The start and end dates would read as follows: 9/27/21 through 9/26/25. The step would be MA1. Could I have a motion to amend?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Safiri. Could I have a second, please? Second by trustee Moore. All in favor to amend?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions. Now we are going to be voting on the D1A appointments, resignations, and leaves of certificated personnel as amended. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1B, appointments, resignations, and leaves of non-certificated personnel as proposed on our agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. We're on D1C, last chance agreement and general release as proposed on the agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
No, that's me.
Oh, that was trustee Gonzalez Prescott.
I'll second.
Second by trustee Burgos. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1D, administrative table of organization, payroll manager. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby appoints Nicole Valente as payroll manager with a to-be-determined start date, and be it further resolved that Nicole Valente shall be remunerated at a salary set forth in the negotiated agreement between the Brentwood Union Free School District and the Brentwood Principals and Supervisors Organization. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Safiri. Could I have a second? Second by trustee Burgos. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Congratulations, Ms. Valente. D1E, Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education and Bilingual Education, K through 12, as proposed on the agenda. Yes, it's too long to read. but this is the item that references Ms. Wanda Ortiz. Could I have a motion, please, as proposed in the agenda? Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Moore. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations, Ms. Ortiz. You are now our Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Education and Bilingual. D1F, Administrators' Salary and Benefit Agreements, as proposed on our agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Safiri. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1G, Brentwood Board of Education authorizing an appropriation from available fund balance to the district's 2017 Capital Reserve Fund. I know that we have some kind of amendment. I don't know if that's the actual resolution. Okay. So there is an amendment that we're going to have to, okay, so D1G, Brentwood Board of Education authorizing an appropriation from available fund balance to the district's 2017 Capital Reserve Fund as proposed on the agenda and as amended as follows. This would be the last paragraph of that resolution. Candace has provided that for me. Be it further resolved that the board, no, this is
I think that's on the other one.
Yeah, this is the wrong one. Yep, this is the wrong, this would be going to D1G. Yes, okay. So,
Well, that's what we're on.
the D1, no, the next one would be D1,
There's two D1Gs. so
Yeah, there's two.
so we're going to have to change that?
Just, yeah, I guess change the numbering on the,
Okay. So we're going to have to change the number on the following D1G. So D1G page 16, Brentwood Board of Education authorizing an appropriation from fund balance to the district's 2017 Capital Reserve Fund as proposed in the agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. So now the D1G that's listed on page 17 is not really D1G. It,
D1H.
what do you want to call it? We could-
just change them all in order if you can,
Yep.
because the order of these matters, so.
Yep, so I'll
Make
change
this
each and every one
yeah.
as we go.
As we go.
Yep. So D1G listed on page 17 will now be D1H. And that is titled Brentwood Board of Education authorizing a formation of a sub-fund of the district's retirement contribution reserve fund, as proposed on the agenda and as amended as follows. The following paragraph would be the last paragraph on now D1H. Page 18 reads as follows. Be it further resolved that the board hereby authorizes and directs the superintendent of schools or his designee to transfer $344,097 of funds which are currently located in the district's general unassigned fund balance into the district's employee retirement contribution reserve sub-fund, TRS sub-fund, and the board further directs that such funds shall be deposited, invested, and accounted for in the manner specified by New York General Municipal Law, Section 6R. Could I have a motion to amend as just said, as I mentioned? Motion to amend?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second, trustee Holder. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. So now we're going back to D1H. Brentwood Board of Education authorizing a formation of a sub-fund of the district's retirement contribution reserve fund as amended. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Safiri. Could I have a second?
Second.
second by trustee Holder Daniel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1H will be, actually, 18, the bottom of page 18, which currently reads D1H, will now be D1I. Could I have a motion to amend to D1I, please?
Motion.
Second? Simone first, Ms. Moore second. All in favor? Aye.
Or did we do that?
All in
for
favor?
H? Did we do that for H? Have a motion to
I
amend for
don't know
H?
if we did it.
Yes, that was part of the amendment. He mentioned that it would be D1H, and then he read the language that would be added to that.
Okay. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So D1I is creation of administrative positions, 3, which is 3 different positions on this particular resolution, as proposed on the agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
No, second.
Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. D1H, could I have a motion to amend D1H to, actually, D1I?
Yes.
So, which is page 19. Could I have a motion to amend D1, currently D1I to D1J, tax rate calculation for 2021-2022 school year? Could I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Burgos. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Holder. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. So D1J. Tax rate calculation for 2021-2022 school year as proposed on the agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Motion by trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Safiri. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. E1A, you have to amend that, I guess, right? So could I have a motion to amend E1A? Well, actually, no. No, we don't have to do that. We're good. We're done with the amendments, all right. So E1A, student enrollment figures as proposed on the agenda, and F11, miscellaneous items for board information only, and G1A, old and new business. Mr. Milishner, I am going to ask you if you could address 2 of the issues that we've, come to surface, and they come to surface, almost at every beginning of the school year, and that is the registration process. I know that we've had a huge line in front of the building. You actually sent out a notice to the community that we were going to shut down the registration for a day. Could you just expand and take this moment to just tell the community, what we're doing?
Sure. No, thank you, Mr. Feliciano. Actually, I do have to say that, registration, as Mr. Feliciano said, every year at this time of year, beginning before school, a week or 2 before school begins, and then the week of the first week of school, the second week of school, it is quite a busy time. This year, it's been exceptionally busy, exceptionally busy. We've had quite a few families come to us that are newly, that they're registering their children for the first time. That takes an extraordinary amount of time and effort. We've had quite a few, actually hundreds of address changes, which, believe it or not, actually does take a considerable amount of time, because again, that has to be verified, paperwork has to be submitted. There's a whole host of jobs that are taking place on a daily basis in the registration office. This year in particular, as I said, the numbers are astronomical. And I want to thank Dr. Ramos and her entire staff, as well as Ms. Ortiz, and actually the assistant superintendents, the assistant coordinators here, Maria and Paula, are exceptional too. They have given hours upon hours of assistance to the registration department. And I want to thank everybody who's kind of jumped in and helped out. Yeah, we should give them a hand. they've put in a considerable amount of time. Now, I understand it can be frustrating for families because they're anxious to get their little ones in school as quickly as possible. But I do want you to be aware that if you arrive to school, you arrive to registration on the first day of school, it will take a couple of days to get all of your paperwork in order. And that's one of the difficult components. There's a lot to registering a student in a school district. There's lots of paperwork, there's lots of verification that has to take place. Obviously, if people show up with all of the material, which actually is published, we have that in quite a few places, what to arrive to the registration office with. But very frequently, they're missing a document here or they're missing a document there, and that may delay the process a little bit. But as I said, that the people in that department, they've worked overtime. They come in on Saturdays because they're passionate about getting people registered as quickly as possible. But I do want to say that it is a process, and I want to apologize for people out there who were frustrated. I'm sorry about that, but we are doing the best we can. And when if the registration department does ask you to bring in documents or some type of verification, they're not doing that because they just want to throw obstacles in. It's actually the law, and we follow that to the T. So that's it. It actually, I believe, is slowing down. However, also, there's lots of other things too. We also register for UPK. Okay, actually, Ms. Ortiz is looking at me like it hasn't slowed down, but I'm always hopeful it does. We actually have UPK. We have about 700 students who are currently enrolled in UPK. I am saying to everybody who's listening that we still have seats available in UPK. If you'd like to register, you got to get down here quickly. We also are getting kids that are now in kindergarten. We're still registering people in those two grades, but we're also registering right through to 12th grade. We're excited. Obviously, we welcome and cherish every student who arrives to us.
Ms. Walsh, can you, there have been a lot of transportation issues. This year, exceptionally, more than we've had in the past. Can you and maybe Ms. O'Connor just expand on what it is that we're dealing with in terms of transportation this year?
Yeah, I'll start, and then Ms. O'Connor can bring it home, and she knows better than anybody. We do have a supervisor of transportation, that's Mr. Carlin, and I also want to thank Mr. Carlin and Ms. O'Connor, because what I'm going to explain is really going to be quite shocking. We actually have an office in transportation that's over here on the first floor. All three of the people who work in that office actually have been out ill since really about the second day of school. So who stepped into the breach? But Ms. O'Connor and obviously Mr. Carlin has been in there, and thankfully Suffolk Transportation has sent us help along the way. That added a little bit of the problem, but much of it occurred before then. I do want, and I'm glad you've given me this time, Mr. Feliciano. A couple of things to know, and this is not going to be a shock to many people, but Suffolk Transportation, like every transportation, and really almost every organization in this state at this current time, is having difficulty getting drivers. So they're actually down drivers, which is impacting the routes, okay? We also, over the summertime, what we do over the summertime in conjunction with Suffolk Transportation is we take a look at the students, the number of students that we have, and we look at the current routing that we have, and we look for efficiencies. And we actually reduced, which obviously is a savings to the district, we reduced by about 15 buses. And when you reduce a number of buses, it actually impacts. If you reduce 15 buses, it actually impacts up to 50 buses because then you have to, reroute the other buses. Now, remember, there was a combination, though, of also the reduction in population, but also it's, looking for efficiencies and also in preparation of not having enough drivers. That's really, was the impetus behind reducing the routes. Now, so that's number one. Number two is we do have a lot of new drivers, Suffolk Transportation, and that has impacted how they travel through the routes. This is their first time driving for many of them. So we have to give them time as they get comfortable traveling. We also have now, because we've reduced the number of routes, and what they've done, what they're in the process of doing is they take a look and they say, okay, more students are getting on the bus. So now we have a little bit of an overcrowding issue on some routes, and that's common, that does happen. So then what we do is, the second week of school, we begin to evaluate those routes along with Suffolk Transportation, and then we bring in additional routes. So when I said we reduced by 15, we're actually going to bring some more routes back and try to reduce the number of students on the bus. It is taking us, again, I want to apologize. I know there were lots of, I will admit it, there were lots of problems with transportation. I hope I explained some of them. I'm not trying to give excuses. I'm just explaining exactly what happened. We still continue to experience some delays and some latenesses. And again, we look at those. I'm in touch with Mr. Corrado, who owns Suffolk Transportation on a daily basis, and he himself goes through the routes and takes a look at how he can, make things more efficient. Ms. O'Connor has been tremendous. She has really, her knowledge has been indispensable. She's been down in that transportation department from 7 in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, working on transportation issues. We have babysitter issues, which I think you had like 85 applications that you yourself, or some number like that, that you had to process. Babysitter, for those that don't know, we have a really terrific service here. What happens is parents obviously leave for work early, and their children need to wait for a bus, so they drop them off at a babysitter. Very common. We've all done it when our kids are little. So what that requires is obviously a change of address. So you may reside at one address, but your babysitter, which you now want your son or daughter to be picked up in, is at another address in your zone. And that requires, some input into a computer and routing the bus to the right spot. So that takes quite a bit of time. So there's a lot of little nuances to transportation. But it's actually universal, as I'm sure you've known. I'm sure you know, upstate, there was actually a district that brought in, they actually didn't have transportation, they didn't have drivers, so they brought in the National Guard to actually drive students. So it's kind of a national trend with transportation. We hope, please have patience, we hope over the next few days to kind of iron out the latenesses. Schools have been terrific too. The staff over at the schools, from the administrators on down to everybody, the TAs and monitors who help, they've been tremendous, because we have had a lot of buses arrive late to school because of the backup. We deliver kids first to the high school, then we go to the middle school, then we go to the elementary schools, and then it's in it's actually then we pick up from the high school. After school, then we go to the middle school, and we go to the elementary school at the end of the day, last. So you can imagine if there's one little hiccup, okay, and unfortunately this almost happens, I think, every single year. Something happens at the train station on the first day of school. It's almost like clockwork. Well, guess what? It happened again. First day of school, something happened with the arm, and that backed up buses. And also, I have to be honest with you, the first day of school, the first couple of days of school, lots of parents, and I understand it completely, we did the same thing. You're anxious to drive your children to school. This year, it was raining out, if you remember, and we had, I think, 75% of the parents drove their kids to school on that first day of school, and we had backup literally for miles in some of the schools as parents and buses kind of commingled as they came into the grounds. So, I mean, there's lots of little issues. I'm sorry. I know it's frustrating as parents, frustrating for kids. Hopefully, the tough spots are behind us. And I do want to apologize to parents, who, were expecting a bus and didn't get it, or something along those lines. And hopefully, we iron those problems out. But Stace?
Mr. O'Connor, was there anything missed?
It's like you're there with us in the office. That was very thorough. Thank you.
I feel your pain. It's okay.
Thank you.
I'm not there in the office, but I feel your pain. Well, I do visit.
You do visit. But just on the rebalancing, and we do get a number of calls that buses are full, and, it may seem like an easy change, to the parent, like just take some kids off. But in the beginning of the year, as Mr. Lochner mentioned, with the babysitter forms and different changes to children's routes and the kids that register, we're adding to buses as well. There's so much movement on the bus that it doesn't make sense to right away rebalance that, because we're adding kids, we're taking away kids, so it might work itself out initially. So we do have to wait till the changes, slow down, and we can actually see how many kids are going to remain on each bus. And then we can look at, making those changes and moving, stops on or off of that bus, or to another bus. So we really do thank everybody for their patience. It is something that happens every year. Due to less routes this year, as Mr. Lochner explained, we are seeing it a little bit more, but I assure you, we're working on it. We're taking counts on every bus, because I may see 60 kids on a bus, but only 50 are riding it. So we also have to evaluate that, and we are having the drivers take counts. They're starting to take those counts now. So we're looking at absolutely every bus, so just thank you for your patience, and we really are working on it hard. Thank you.
That shortage of bus drivers is not just Brentwood, it's all over the country.
Right.
In fact, I actually heard that there was a superintendent of schools who got a CDL license so that he could drive the bus, because it was so bad. It was a small school district.
Actually, when I retire, I'm thinking about driving a bus. So you might not be rid of me. I could be driving through the streets. That's if they'll hire me. I don't know. They might not.
Thank you so much to you, Mr. Lochner, and Ms. O'Connor. In particular, I know that Ms. O'Connor has had to pick up a lot of the pieces over transportation, and she's very, very involved on a daily basis. So much so that the only thing I could do is poke a little fun at it. So every once in a while, she'll get an email from me that says, the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, and all I do is laugh, right? And it's lighten her day. But this is what we are facing as a district. Some of it is absolutely within the norm. The idea that we have issues with registration, we have issues with transportation are the norm for as long as, I've been in this district. But there are definitely some exceptional qualities to what it is that we're dealing with right now, and that's everything that Ms. O'Connor and Mr. Lochner outlined. It's so funny how COVID has impacted us, in the world, in this country, and locally. Having a shortage of employees, not being able to meet some of the demands in terms of the menu items that we thought we were going to have for the lunch program. So there are so many factors that the district is dealing with, and I thank you for your efforts. Ms. Lochner, is there anything that you want to add on this in terms of the old and new business?
Yeah, there are quite a few things. Well, I'm sorry, not quite a few things. We'll tone it down here. The Green Machine Home Show this past weekend, we had a beautiful day, and I want to thank everybody who attended. It, by all accounts, it was a wonderful event. It actually is great to have the Green Machine out on the field again. This week, we actually, Buildings engaged in Start with Hello. If you remember, we bought Start with Hello, a terrific program in a few years back, and every school really has embraced it. As you know, Start with Hello is a Sandy Hook Promise initiative to promote inclusivity and prevent students from feeling lonely and disconnected from their peers and school environment. And obviously this year, more than ever, Start with Hello is important. We have many students who who have not attended school in a year and a half, or close to a year and a half. And what we did is we talked as a cabinet, can we, start, we had options as to when to start with hello, start with hello. And we chose this week because it's obviously early in September. And it really has been terrific. I want to thank the schools who've really done, some terrific events to start with hello and really kind of reach out to all of the students who may seem lonely. And I think it goes a long way just when I see teachers and other students in the hallway and, saying, making sure that they make eye contact with students and they say hello or good morning or have a good afternoon at the end. I think that goes a long way to kind of connect with students, as well as a ton of other things that was obviously very small. We are asking everyone to wear green tomorrow to symbolize a culture of tolerance, kindness, and acceptance. So that's obviously gone out to the district, and many of our students and staff will wear green. The ambassador of El Salvador will be at Oak Park Elementary tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. to speak to our 5th grade students. We're real excited about that. The assistant principal over at Oak Park has a connection. Ms. Ortiz has actually met with the ambassador, and I'm looking forward to stopping over tomorrow and hearing him speak to our, hearing her. I said him, but her. And I apologize, to listen to her speak to our 5th grade students. Today we celebrated, today was a terrific event. We celebrated the top 10 at the high school. That's the top 10 for Ross and the top 10 for Sondling. It was really nice because last year we actually did it very late in the year. Typically we do it in the beginning of the year once they get their placements in the class. So it was really nice to have the high school bring the kids down, give them a nice breakfast. We all talked to the kids, and it's just it felt like old times again to have the kids there. Kevin Duran from the top 10 received a commendation from the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. Kevin is one of 50,000 high school students who entered and one of the 34,000 who were commended for his achievement. So congratulations to Kevin.
Thank you very much. So now we're going to move on to the community comment section. And just to recap what it is that we're trying to do here is that we are asking the community members come up. Prior to that, fill out the form, and you'll have a few minutes to express whatever concerns, whatever comments you might have. We are going to ask that you finish up whatever that may be, return to your seat, and in some cases, Mr. Lochner or I may want to address some of those things, and some things that we may not, because it is just a comment or concern. But just know that we are listening, and the reason why we are trying to change the format is just to have these meetings flow in a much better fashion than they have in the past. So with that being said, I am going to ask that Mr. Borgella please come up if he is still here. Okay, so Mr. Rodley Borgella wrote on the community comments, and I believe, Mr. Lochner, that this is something that we were asked about a few meetings back, and that is, why are there no speed limit signs or bumps at Brentwood East Middle School at 70 Hilltop Drive? School officials, teachers, custodians, commercial vehicles, and parents have been speeding in and out of the school, endangering students and people's lives. How do we stop? So, Mr. Lochner, I thought that when we talked about this last, we were in the process of installing.
Yes, we put stop signs in over at East Middle School, stop signs at various places because they enter, and they have an opportunity to go up and down the aisle. So we did put stop signs in, and I believe we were getting the portable speed bump. They're in.
The speed bumps
are
are in as well.
Yeah, so I think we did that. We did,
Maybe not in the particular places that might impact what the complaint is.
mean, this-
So I have a telephone number for Mr. Borgella, if Mr. Lotion, if I can give that to you, maybe you can try to get the details or give that to anybody who might
sure, oh, yeah.
have
No,
those
no.
details. So it was speed limit signs and/or bumps, the speed bumps
We
at
have-
East Middle
right.
School.
Right, we have the stop signs in and we have the speed bumps in. We have several stop signs in.
So it could be that there may be an area that's
Yeah.
not being.
Yeah, I'll have to speak
So
with them.
this is yours. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's different entrances.
There's actually only one entrance, you know. You know, there's one way to enter and one way to exit. I can't say that it's always adhered to.
Yeah.
But there is only one entrance.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a one-way there on that school, next to the school, yeah.
Yes, next to the school, that's only the exit.
Yeah. So I'm going to call up Mr. Fritz.
Good evening, Board. Joe Fritz, Brentwood resident. Just want to address two small issues before I go into my little speech here. With respect to the salaries, I think it's a good idea, and then when I was on the board, Tomas Del Rio had policy where every time a person was hired, right at the time the meeting was held, they announced the person's salary. It should be no secret. It's another way of achieving some sort of ability for the public to know what's going on. With respect to the registration of students, I would probably say that and I'm just taking a guess, that probably 90% of the people who attend the Brentwood schools who register late, probably 90% of the 100 probably are going to be ultimately admitted to the school system. And the time wasted might be better satisfied by having a person to be permitted to attend school pending the corroboration of the proof of the individual's papers, the papers which are necessary. I think it's a good idea. It serves no useful function to have a person wait several days or a week because of one thing or another. Especially since if, say, 90% are permitted, it shouldn't be any problem. Lastly, with my little thing is, I noticed in item D1G, there seems to be a rather large surplus of about $3 million, which is being put in other places. And without beating a dead horse, I think it would be a good idea to use a little bit of that to consider having an investment in a golf team. It's certainly a very small investment, and the rewards will be scholarships in the next several years. Now, what I'm here to speak about is, number one, my statements are basically somewhat of a recapitulation of the last meeting. With the influx of federal and state monies, we should use judiciously, but with that comes the need to follow state education law. Having a plan of action by the superintendent and the staff to make goals for the school year, which has just begun. We all know that we have a requirement to require a list of goals. It's a blueprint. It's a means, something which both the staff and the citizens of the community can look at to see which way we're going. Not doing so means we have no plan of action of improving our school district, and we're in effect derelict of our duties. To know and not to do is not to know. I ask that the board and the superintendent, if there's a plan in place, and if not, what steps are being taken to institute a plan for the improvement of the school district. I asked you, Superintendent Lochner, what steps have been made to improve the educational process in the Brentwood schools, and what steps have been taken to put this plan into writing and available to the public. Again, to know and not to do is not to know. As a resident, I was able to get, this is as a resident, not when I was on the school board, I was able to get the Brentwood School Board to adopt a policy in 2008 to take $25 million out of the banks which the school district used and put it into a different bank. Ms. O'Connor was very helpful. And why did I do this? Well, because Chase Bank was responsible in part for the mortgage crisis and was foreclosing on Brentwood's mortgages. I had a plan. The plan was to inform Chase that we're going to take, of the $300 million budget in 2008, $25 million was going to another bank. I brought it to the school district and it was adopted. Number two, when Heartland Builder said that his apartment complex would only yield 2,200 students, I got the Brentwood School District, here again, not when I was on the school board, to conduct a study to test the accuracy of Wolkoff's statement that it was only going to bring out 2,200 students. The school district and the school superintendent agreed to my proposal, and they did their study, which showed that Wolkoff's prediction was grossly off base. The Brentwood School District predicted an increase of 7,500 students. My suggestions have been worthwhile. While on the school board several years ago, our board voted to increase the availability of students obtaining college credits while in school by taking college courses offered. These courses were seriously reduced as a result of the economic crisis of 2008 and also COVID. If we as Brentwood residents expect to thrive, we must act like we are middle-class aspirants and not beggars of the trough. We need to recondition ourselves to aim high. So I ask the district to increase the course offerings for college-level courses to put us back on track. We are flush with money. Now let's use it judiciously by spending it on our students. Let's create a plan to improve the district, and let's improve the educational process by adding more college-level courses. I look forward to your considering this in the upcoming months, or face the reminder each and every month if nothing is done. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate your input. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fritz. Ms. Loescher, so I know that we do have a plan.
Right.
So can you just talk about, you know, the idea of, you know, how it is that we're approaching this newfound wealth that we have, you know, what it is that we're doing, how the, you know, you're moving your administration forward in terms of this?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit that we've actually been working on since we found out about, you know, the federal funds coming our way. I mean, the plan actually has been published. I mean, we do have, you know, the plan that was presented a couple of weeks back. That's actually online. That was only a framework, however, Joe, that you've asked about. That's online, just so you know, if you want to go back and take a look at that PowerPoint. To tell you the truth, I don't even know where it is online. I could get that to you though, Mr. Fritz, okay? You know, so you ask something that is just incredibly huge, Mr. Feliciano. We've actually done quite a bit of work already. We actually have the freshman center is on a 9-period day. We're increasing course offerings over at the freshman center. In terms of a long-range plan, we are planning next year with the board's blessing to expand the high school to a 9-period day. And what the high school is currently doing is every single department is exploring various electives that they want to bring into the high school, because we don't want to go to a 9-period day and not have a very rich and vibrant course offering for our kids. So we're excited about expanding to a 9-period day. That's obviously going to use quite a bit of the funds that are coming to us through the foundation aid. I do want to say too, you mentioned something about the college credits. Today, when I was at the top 10, one of the questions that we asked the students, I think Mr. Abenis asked the question of the top 10 students, how many had over 20 college credits? And there were quite a few hands that went up out of the 20 students. So we do have quite a few college offerings, and I'm not talking AP classes. That was in addition to the AP classes. So there are lots of our students that are, well, there's lots that are leaving with more than 20 credits, but there's lots that are leaving with 3, 6, 9, 12, et cetera. So we do have, a partnership with several universities and colleges, Now, in terms of other things, we've actually put together a 2-year professional development plan that we're really excited about. We rolled that out earlier this year, this summer, and again, this is a long-range plan. I want to thank the assistant superintendents, Ms. Young, the director of special services, but in particular, Ms. Palmer, who really has spearheaded this. And as a matter of fact, even yesterday, she had another meeting with the administrators and teachers on this new professional development plan. I think that's going to have a tremendous impact on the instruction in the classroom. Again, it's too much to go into, but that's part of what we're doing. We also have a plan to upgrade over the next several years many of our science rooms. We're also looking at other rooms such as the art and music to upgrade them as well. We're also looking at the auditoriums that are over 20 years old in many places, and we're upgrading those as well. We're looking at, this is not so much fun, but we're looking at obviously bathrooms across that need to be abated and updated. So the physical plant is also going to be tended to over the next several years because of some of the money that's been given to us, both in interior of the building and the exterior of the building. In terms of instruction, though, as I mentioned earlier, we're also looking to expand things in the middle school. I've already met with some of the principals. I'd love to expand the technology down there as well. That's something that we're looking to increase the technology offerings, as well as bringing in staff members that really will enhance that program, where we've now set into motion, and that was just a few weeks ago. Ms. Palmer and I met with the technology department, and where our plan is to really tie the middle school tech to the high school tech, and our hope is that students in the near future will graduate with certificates that will allow them to go into the workforce. We're excited about that. So there's lots of things. I probably can go on for a few hours. There's lots of things that we have, really put in. I want to thank Ms. Young. Since she's taken over the special services, it is really, my head spins when I talk to Ms. Young, because she is constantly looking to improve that department. Is already in just a few short months made tremendous strides in streamlining that department. Just today, I don't know, she has a tremendous amount of energy. She's looking at the 504 committees. She's streamlining that. She's looking at CSE committees. The positions that we hired this evening, she's actually was really her idea. And again, that's all to make special services more efficient. And when I say more efficient, it's better for kids and it's better for families. So she's having a tremendous impact there. So again, that's a whole separate world that she's looking into, and really, I think things are only going to get better in special services under her leadership. So there's lots of things, Mr. Fritz, that we're working on.
Mr. Lochner, so if I can just expand on what you said. So the one thing that we have to take into account as we talk about, spending all this money is that, and we've talked about it as a board, we've even talked about it here in public session with the community, is that, this funding, the CARES Act funding, is for a limited number of years. So we only have that, I think, 3 or 4 years to actually implement that money. After that pile of money dries up. And the money that we're getting from the state in terms of the increase on the foundation aid dollars that we surprisingly got this year, it's a great thing to have, but we're still so worried, we're still so concerned, because it's almost too good to be true. And although we have this money, and it is coming, I think that everybody here is very, very reluctant to guarantee that it's always going to be here for years to come. So what the approach is in terms of this, fiscal responsibility that we have as a board is to make sure that we are, trying to spend a bulk of this money on the infrastructure so that we are setting up these schools for, decades to come. We're replacing boilers that are 50, 60 years old. And then the other part is expanding programs that, and I think that the governor, and I think that we've gotten messages from the government agencies, is to be careful not to spend some of this money on recurring costs, because, certainly the federal money we're not going to have beyond, the 3 or 4 years. And with the state money, we're just a little shy to really go as far as we'd like to, because we want to see what it is that next year brings.
Right. I do want to say, if I could, too, Mr. Feliciano, part of our plans, too, we just put in Aquas boards in all of our classrooms. So again, that has a major impact on the instruction in classes. We're actually still in the process of replacing those Aquas boards. We purchased them over the summer. Ms. Chang really worked tirelessly on this. However, like everything in this world, things are on back order. Now we actually have them all in, and we'll finish installing them in the next couple of weeks all across the district. So every instructional classroom will have an Aquas board. Also, and this is really the Board of Education has to take credit for that, because they've really been insistent. Ms. Moore, I'm looking to my right, she's been pushing for it for a couple of years. That's the Aquas boards. We also have laptops, 23,500 laptops that we purchased last year, and we're distributing to all of our students. Also, to instructionally impact what's going on in the classroom, we actually gave laptops to all of our teachers as well. And that way, they obviously have the laptop, which communicates with the Aquas boards. Now, we didn't just give them laptops. We gave tremendous professional development prior to the school beginning on the 2 superintendents' conference days. So they got the laptops along with professional development of 3 hours on how to use it, and they'll get continued professional development throughout the year on not just the instructional component, but also the how to manipulate the laptop efficiently, as well as the Aquas board. And again, Ms. Chang did lots of that professional development herself, and she's taught teachers and other staff members to go out and continually educate the staff. So one of the things that I'm really proud of is we don't just bring things in and just drop them down. We actually do a considerable amount of professional development around that.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I mean, in summary, we're just trying to do all these things and still be fiscally responsible. And we are, we are waiting to see what happens with the budgets to come. So it would be a wonderful thing if this was, where we were in years to come.
I have a question about foundation aid. Now, there's a time limit on that.
I don't think that you have your microphone. Yeah, okay.
I have a question about foundation aid. It's on.
No, I think it's on this building. There we go.
Now,
Now you're hot.
I have a question about foundation aid. There's a time limit on that also, though, isn't it?
I think what we're doing is, I think we're confusing some of the terminology. The foundation aid is part of our budget this year.
Right, this year.
The federal aid that Mr. Feliciano was referring to is the CRRSA and the ARP. The CRRSA expires in 3 years.
Right.
The ARP expires in 4 years.
so, I mean, we hope that this is, what our biggest problem is going to be is what are we going to do with this money? Mr.
Yeah, we
Marshall?
are, you're right, Ms. Feliciano, we are anxiously awaiting what will happen next spring. Because that's if we had a great year last year, they made a commitment to us, the government. Hopefully next year we see, that they're honoring their commitment.
Thank you. Mr. Cuomo? You're up.
It's been so long, I forgot what my questions were.
I can remind you, so.
Please.
It says BYA,
Okay.
Ross Park, and
Okay.
starting time.
All right, we'll start with BYA. Okay, the fields are called Brentwood Youth Activity Fields. The Brentwood football and cheerleading, all right, for your information, has gotten the permits to use the fields for football and cheerleading. Okay, and that's supposed to start probably either tomorrow night or next Friday night. Okay, and that's a good start because in football they have over 100 children playing, and in cheerleading they have over 90 girls cheerleading. So we've been working on that for a while, myself and Mr. Montalbano. Okay, so just wanted to give you a little heads up that hopefully in 5-6 years, we'll see the results on the football field. Okay? Ross Memorial Park. If some of you have driven past there about a month ago, it was tent city. They had tents up. They had people who were walking on the path, harassed, asked for money, okay? The drugs were rampant. This past week, we got the town and Suffolk County and the MTA to go in there, clean the fields out, pick up all the syringes, and relocate the ones who didn't have a place and was using that as their living room. Okay? And the starting time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, you're all at fault for this because the agenda was put up after 3 o'clock, and on the agenda, on the computer, it said 7:30 start. So if you're a person who tries to be on time, you get here a little after 7, closer to 7:15, okay? And then to come out at 9 o'clock is ridiculous. If you can't do the job in one day, get off your behinds and make a second day. But you can't keep asking the public to come to things and then you do certain things to discourage them from ever coming back. Examples. We can't ask questions. We can't get answers. All right? We tell the superintendent, don't answer him. Okay? We turn around and make comments like that that get people ticked off. Also, we know there's advertisements out there, but we used to do a lot more, I would say. Okay? I don't know if we have PTAs in each of the schools, in each of the elementary schools. I know last year we didn't. All right? I hope we do this year. And at their meetings, they should be promoting going to the school board, or at least have the president here. Because we are the stockholders, okay? And you people should be listening and listening and listening to what we are trying to say to you. It's nice that we have all these plans, okay? But if you can go through an agenda in an hour and something minutes, but you spent more time in executive session, there's something wrong there. Apparently, you're talking about items that shouldn't be discussed in executive session. Because I've told you year after year after year, all right, there are really only 3 items that are discussed in executive session. And that's special ed, personnel, and contracts. All right? I don't know when you guys are getting your agenda, But when I call up and I'm told, all right, they're still working on the agenda, you're not doing your job. The agenda, once it's handed out to the board members, okay, that should be the agenda. Unless it's a major crisis that comes up at the last minute. Even last year, we used to have walk-in resolutions. What the heck is a walk-in resolution? You didn't know about this? Board members didn't know about this? You find out that day that we have to hire someone? I'm sorry. If I was grading and I was a teacher in this school district and three other school districts, all right, you guys would get an F. And I say that with a broken heart because you all know I love this district. And all I'm seeing is it being deteriorated at a rapid pace. And something has got to change. You've got to be able to communicate with the public. And you're not doing that. You're shutting us down. Okay? I don't want to bloviate on this because it's going to come to a head soon.
Thank you, Mr. Como.
Talk about starting time?
Yes. Mr. Morse?
Honestly, I don't know where to begin. As you know, I am a parent of 2 daughters who go to Universal Pre-K. And I am disgusted by my writing to each and every one of you about what transpired with my daughter on the first day of school, and not one of you has responded to me, not one, about what happened to my daughter. My wife came to this building and asked to speak to the Director of Transportation. Why could she not get the Director of Transportation when her 4-year-old was kicked off the bus on the first day of school? Someone needs to answer that question.
Continue, Mr. Morse.
No,
please.
someone needs to answer why the Director of Transportation was unavailable when her child got kicked off, my daughter got kicked off the bus on the first day of school. Because we handed in our paperwork on time. We're not one of the parents, I guess you're talking about, that was online on the first day of school. And there are plenty of other people who had issues who handed in their paperwork on time. So I want answers as to what is going on here. I described to you all that getting rid of administrative positions where you have the money to pay for them diminishes the services to the community. You don't need a degree. You don't even need a high school diploma. Heck, the kids in the system can tell you that. So the question becomes, why is it your policy to, I wrote it down, our goal is not to add additional staff. That's what you said tonight. That's a direct affront to parents and services, especially when you've already reduced the very little that we get. You accessed the transportation supervisor. Now you have no expert over transportation. What are you gonna do?
I got to answer. Mr. Moss, we have a supervisor of transportation.
Who is the supervisor of transportation?
Mr. Carlin.
Why was he not available?
That I cannot answer. Okay, it was the first day of school, so I am sure.
See, that's a problem for me, Mr. Lochner, because you should have, after the email that I sent, you definitely should have investigated what went on with my kid.
I know exactly when went on with.
Okay, so please tell me what happened to her paperwork, why she was not allowed to ride the bus on the first day of school.
Okay.
You know, at this point, I'm going to ask,
Please tell me why she wasn't allowed to ride the bus on the first day of school.
Well,
at this point, Ms. Loshner, I think that you gracefully explained what it is that the district has been facing in terms of transportation. I think that was certainly a.
Mr. Loshner did not address that issue at all.
I'd rather not go into specific
No,
details.
it is a
of
specific,
students.
please.
Because I
We're
don't think
talking
that this is-
about
I
the
don't think that this is
services
the forum for
to
this.
our district. The parents have a right to know what was the lapse that happened in July that led to my daughter not taking a bus in September. I deserve to know what was the lapse.
So, Chair, we talk generally about the transportation process, but we don't want to violate any confidentiality.
Yeah.
rights by-
You don't have to talk about any person, and I don't want to name, but I want to know what happened. And you have a responsibility to report to me and the public
Okay.
why people who put their applications in on time did not get service on the first day of school.
Okay, well, first of all, I don't have to be yelled at, Mr. Moss.
Well, when you
You're-
refuse to answer,
not
I'm sorry. Listen, I'm sorry.
No.
You're going to have to hear
Okay.
parents being upset about their little girls crying, getting off the bus
Okay.
because they were kicked off the bus. You're going to hear that rage, my friend. You're going to hear it.
First of all, Mr.
And
Moss.
if you don't want to hear the guttural anger of parents who have to stomach that kind of abuse to their kids, if you don't want to hear that, you're in the wrong business.
No, Mr. Moss, I'm not in the wrong business. I've listened to you month after month for 5
Well,
years.
this month you're going to listen
okay?
to anger.
No.
You're going to listen to
Every
it,
month.
and you're going to be respectful to it too, because parents have a right to be angry when the services fail their kids.
First of all, there have been a lot of things that we mentioned that occurred in the first week of school, and no one has responded this way. And I'm grateful for that. Now, I can easily explain what happened in generalities, but then I want it to be done. That's it. I
Okay.
apologize, as I apologize all the time.
Generalities that are accurate, please.
When a mistake is made, I feel terrible when something impacts a student. It doesn't matter who it is or when it occurs. It's unfortunate when it does, and I feel terrible that that happened. I can explain it in generalities. What we have is it's actually very simple, and unfortunately it does happen. When a student is put into the system, they are assigned a grade, okay? And they're assigned a grade and they're assigned and at that point then transportation is assigned. Evidently, when someone changes a grade for whatever reason, the transportation is dropped off. So it's a glitch in the system. So what happened, and maybe it happened more than once, but if someone had a grade and an assignment in July and there is some change to that student's card for whatever reason, then transportation is dropped off and it should be reinserted, but in this case it wasn't. And for that, I am sorry. But as I said, I can't take it back. I wish I could. Okay, I wish all of these mistakes that have occurred, it happens, and I feel terrible. I did feel terrible for your daughter when I heard about it. But again, there was a reason. It was not for, it wasn't malicious intent or, for any other reason other than from what was explained to me, that there was some type of change to one of your daughter's transcripts or cards, if I may say it like that, and that caused transportation to drop off.
Why would that happen to one and not the other?
I think that there was just a change to one student's card, from what I understand.
But why,
again.
why would that happen to one and not the other? They're twins.
No, I understand.
They have
but
the same
after-
last name.
after
They're the same grade.
Again, so we're probably moving into conversation that you should have privately with
Yeah,
Mr. Moss.
I can,
Yeah,
we can
and we
research
probably
it
shouldn't be
further.
discussing that in
Right.
public now. So, Mr. Moss, please feel free to reach out to Ms. Loshner after the meeting. so that this conversation doesn't have to be publicized. Do you have
I do have a
Anything else?
serious problem with the reduction of staff that you continue to do in this district. You did it tonight, and I have a problem with it tonight. I have a problem with you having a goal that you're not going to add additional staff. I applaud Ms. Young for bringing to the table the real needs of our community and making sure that you all put in the necessary administrators in special services. Why is it that you can't have that same building mindset for the rest of the district? That's what we need. We don't need the bilingual program being shared with all of secondary education. You're talking about pre-K all the way to 12th grade, 7,000 plus students. You're gonna mix that with 7th grade all the way to 12th grade, all the English-speaking students? The supervision of that? It makes no sense. Especially when the taxpayers have already approved a budget that had the secondary education assistant principal in it, assistant superintendent in it. We, the taxpayers, approved that. I got another problem. And some people may think I'm crazy for bringing it up. I have a problem with a 0% taxes, a huge one, because it says to me that you're not listening to any kind of leadership when it comes to spending. Annual spending is annual spending. It occurs every year. When you go and utilize funds to reduce a tax levy, what happens, Ms. O'Connor, to the budget the next year? What happens to the budget the next year, Ms. O'Connor?
Wait, Mr. Moss.
Okay, she doesn't have to answer that. I'll finish my time. Let me tell you what happens. If there's a hole in the budget. A hole in the budget that comes from the fact that you utilize funds for a singular purpose of reducing taxes. We already voted to increase the taxes. Then the state gives us more money to increase the services. Then you take the money and decrease the services by decreasing the taxes, which creates a hole in the budget that now you have to increase the taxes to get back to the very next year. I'm sure your assistant superintendent of business let everybody know that before you made this move, which is why she's looking like, duh, I told them that.
Mr. Moss.
Okay? No. Listen,
Mr.
I get to
Moss.
finish. You're not going to interrupt me.
Mr. Moss, I will interrupt you. You don't
On my
speak to
speaking
people
time.
that way.
I'm
You
not-
understand? I have to listen to this every single month.
Well, you know what? You have to listen
You
to it.
treat people
Why are you
so
doing a
disrespectfully,
0%?
I will not stand
Why are
for
you
it.
doing a 0% budget
I'm
and
gonna ask,
wasting the taxpayers' money?
I'm gonna ask to end this.
Wasting the taxpayers' money.
Let's please end this. Let's end this right now, please.
completely
Please,
inappropriate.
Mr. Moss.
0% taxes
Mr. Moss,
means that you
you-
wasted the increase that the government gave us. That's what it means. Instead, you should be doing summer programs for the
overstepped.
kids,
You've
after-school
absolute-
programs for the kids,
This is-
utilizing the money for the children of this district. That's why the Senate gives us money. That's why the Assembly gives us money.
This is why
To
we
do
changed
programs for kids,
the
to get more
protocols of
teachers
this
for
public
children,
meeting. This
to
is
do
exact-
9-period days,
This
not
is
to get
exactly the
0%
reason
tax
why
increases
we've
when
changed
we
the
already
protocols of
voted
this
for the
public
budget.
meeting. Please, Mr. Lotion, don't respond anymore. Mr. Moss, please have a seat. Please have a seat.
We already voted for a budget. Why are you changing what the taxpayers have already voted?
We changed the protocols of
Wasting
this meeting
the money,
specifically for this
wasting
reason.
it. That's what you just
Mr.
did
Loeffler.
tonight. You wasted
Thank
the
you.
money. You should have spent it on the kids and the transportation so nothing happened to my daughter. If you had actual people working in the office with the money, that wouldn't have happened.
So I apologize to everybody for this.
You need to apologize. You
I-
need to change things.
I really do. This is, no, I was apologizing to everybody else who had to withstand what just happened. So there's a reason why we tried to change the protocols of these public meetings. And this is a prime example of what it is that we should never be. We should never be exposed to. We have our differences on this board, but I don't see anyone here who is doing this to enrich themselves, who's doing this for any other reason than, I believe, for the love of this community. And Ms. Safiri, I'm sorry that this is what happened. I understand that this is something that you don't want to be exposed to, but nobody does. Nobody does. Mr. Loshiner, again, I apologize for for this, and I'm sorry that this is, again, where we find ourselves. But here's what's not gonna happen, is that this isn't gonna continue. This is just not gonna continue. Having the public come up to address the board is an option. It's not a mandate. This is a meeting of the Board of Education in public. We don't have to, the law does not mandate that we have public participation, but we do so because we have a sense of responsibility toward this community, but we don't sit here in anticipation of this night being anything other than respectful. There's no reason for the shouting, there's no reason for the disrespect, there isn't any reason for the drama, absolutely none at all, absolutely none at all. And the problem is again, the disrespect. It's absolutely disrespectful, and that's why we changed the protocols of this meeting, and that's why we went with this format. Agenda items, please list your questions. We will read them. We will try to answer them as best we can. You always have the option to meet with staff privately after the meeting, call during the day. There isn't anything to hide here. But this, what just happened, it's just uncalled for, unnecessary, and really it has really gotten really old. So with that being said, again, we're going to continue with this, and it's unfortunate because I want to say that we tend to agree with most of the speakers that are up there. We tend to take things to heart, and we do try to affect change. You will be heard. You will be heard. You are being heard. You have been heard, right? So with that being said, Ms. Loescher, I did hear through all of that, there was a piece, right, that I wrote down on the paper, and I said, well, we can address this when he's done, right? And what I asked for is, please, say your piece, your comment, ask the question, then please sit down. And if there's something that we can address so that you have the information that we already have, we will. And that is the protocol that we're asking for people to follow. Stand up there, make your comments, make your questions, and then we will try to answer the question. With that being said, Mr. Loescher, can you tell us what the plan is for the bilingual department at this point forward in terms of the backfill that we have talked about?
Yes. Our intention is not to decrease people in that department. Ms. Ortiz obviously retains the position as, or actually just this evening, Assistant Superintendent in charge of secondary education and bilingual, but our intention is to hire a bilingual coordinator. So we're not reducing staff. And the bilingual coordinator will function much like Ms. Ortiz did. It has many of the jobs as Ms. Ortiz when she was a coordinator, and then subsequently as the Assistant Superintendent of bilingual. So our intention is to add to that department. Also, I want to comment that when I said that she didn't, we weren't adding positions. That was in relationship to those 3 new positions that are being established in the special ed department. We have actually added a considerable amount of positions across this district, and I want to thank the board, obviously, for always, agreeing to that. Also, it was mentioned too that, summer programs, I heard through all of that. I do want to make the community aware, which I've made aware on many occasions over the last couple of months. We had over 4,000 students, participate in summer programs. So what I really, I understand obviously getting angry, but what I can't abide by is the misrepresentation, because I don't want people to think that, although this occurred, what we're doing in this district, top to bottom, is fantastic. This summer program, which was said at the mic, summer programs for kids, over 4,000. We had camps in virtually every building. We started things this past year that were amazing. The swim program you heard me mention, that had over 300 participants. But academically, we had programs, we have summer lit programs, we have science camps, we have math, we have it all for every single kid. Special education students, bilingual, and general ed. So I don't want the community to think that we're not doing things. We're doing amazing things. And it's unfortunate that we end these meetings on these notes all the time. I don't know about you, I leave here depressed. I come in the next day though and I see kids and I feel better. I see teachers doing their thing, administrators doing their thing. We're doing amazing things here. We do have some people who like to tear us down constantly and divide us constantly. That is not who we are. We are a fabulous district doing fabulous things with wonderful kids. Do we make mistakes? Yes. Does it warrant, though, to be harangued and yelled at and screamed at? Absolutely not.
Mr. Lochner, I made some comments about my thoughts of each individual board member, only because in years past, we've had board members here for sitting in these seats, not necessarily for the motives that they were stated when they were elected, and I want to say maybe, ulterior motives that may not have been the best for this community. And now I sit here and I ask you, and this is not primed, right? Your opinion of each of these board members, has anybody asked you to do anything that is outside of the norm? Are we looking for to hook up our family? Are we doing these things to get contracts, to enrich ourselves, to pull one over on the community? So we've been doing this for 5 years now, I think, with you as superintendent. And some of these board members have been here for longer than that. Do you have anything to add on that note?
Tell us which relatives of the board members you hired. Tell us that.
Mr. Lochner, please.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll publish it for everybody.
yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, this board, nobody on the board has ever asked me to hire or, take on a contract or hire somebody. No one has ever applied any pressure. And I do want to respond to Mr. Como, when you asked about executive session, we did spend probably about 90% of the time talking about personnel matters. And I want to say that the Board of Education, there is lots of arguing in executive session, lots of pushing back and forth. But at the end of the day, they do what they believe is right. They've never once influenced me in any other. Nobody on this board has ever said you have to hire this person or promote this person. Now, have people in families been hired? They have, or been promoted, just as in every organization in this country. It happens, but they've always been the best person, I believe. And there's actually somebody out there who's not even applying for a position, and I think that person would be great for a promotion, but is refusing to do so. I have a lot of respect for that gentleman. So no board member has ever asked me to hire or promote somebody.
It's not perfect, but I do believe that we are really, really trying our best. And I've said this. I just don't know if it gets any better than the board that we.
And I also want to say that we've hired a lot of administrators, probably about 50 to 60 administrators have been hired or promoted. Many of them have been from the outside, and many of them have been internal. But it's been a mixture. No one ripens into a position. People actually work for their positions. And I have to say that people that we've hired and promoted, I'm very proud of. I think they've done exceptional work for this district. And when I do leave this district and I look back on all of the people who have been hired and promoted with the help of this board, I think I'll be very proud of that.
Yeah.
And the teachers as well. I have to say the assistant superintendents and the director of special ed take the hiring of teachers very seriously. And in the past, I don't know if that's the case, I can't comment on that. All I can say is the last 5 years, they have taken it very seriously. And they oversee these teachers. And they've dismissed quite a few that are non-tenured, but they are so proud of the people that they've hired, and they work tirelessly to improve them as teachers. That's who Brentwood is, not this, whatever is tried to be portrayed every single month.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Lishner. So with that being said, I am going to ask Ms. Oyola to please come forward.
So I know you've been doing the comments at the end of the board meetings, and this one, I just said, okay, so if we can't ask our questions here, when are we supposed to? Think about it and get back to me. When is the community supposed to have questions that they have that are just not on the agenda? I have no idea. But also, we're in this hot room. I don't know about you. And yet, why can't we, I put on the comments, can't we go to the South Middle? We've done it before. They got AC. People will be a little bit more comfortable if that was to happen. And if I may, Fritz, you mean well, but unfortunately, working in the health aides with the nurse, when you let parents come in without documents, try and get them. Once they're in, you're not getting it. So, unfortunately, with that said, if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Well, the solution is
Yeah.
remove them. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is, I think it's a good use of time by committing the person. If 90% have the document ultimately, you're making more work for yourself. I mean.
Well, yeah, but it's not 90%. There are more that don't have that, but, yeah.
I think it is.
I don't want to say. And last but not least, the first question that Mr. Moore said was, he wanted to know something about transportation. You did mention it, maybe he didn't hear that part, that 3 people were out from transportation, but he said that he sent an email to each and every one that's on the board, and no one answered. If someone would have answered, I believe he wouldn't have been so upset. Again, these are his kids. One went on, the other didn't. So I don't know why it wasn't addressed when he sent the email, and then this could have been avoided.
I'm not speaking for everybody, but I'm not allowed to answer.
No, but
I didn't answer.
But I understand that, Cindy, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Someone should have answered just to, and again, yeah.
And you know I answer every time.
But, come on, if that was my child, I'd have a fit too. And I would have said some unnice words, English and in Spanish, wouldn't have cared.
So let me try to address some of those things. In terms of the questions, but the protocol that we're trying to put in place right now is for community members to come up, have their comments, ask a question, and then, or spend whatever time they need to be up there, have a seat, and then we will try to address some of the questions that we can answer after that person is there. So this is the time to ask the question. The only thing that we're asking is that please go ahead and ask the questions, make the comment, and then have a seat. And then what we do is we will try to address some of those things here. I understand that there may be some follow-up questions afterwards, and you're more than welcome to please follow up after the meeting if that's possible. The reason why we're trying to do that is, again, is to avoid what we just experienced. We're just trying to change it. So then in terms of South, this area, this arena actually works pretty well for all of us. We're actually, I think that Mr. Loshner had to go up to his office to get some things that we were asking about. So we've tried to stay here as the most familiar.
It's not working because the AC is not working.
Yes, And fall season is upon us, and soon winter will be here, and we'll ask, we'll ask about the heat, and that needs to be working. And it's funny because we talked about, how COVID has impacted us, sometimes we, I know, where I work, we can't find parts sometimes to make the replacements or the repairs.
Sometimes it's more expensive to find the part.
Yep.
In that option, you just have to
Or-
buy new.
Yep.
I know that very well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in terms of addressing, community members that do send things to the entire board, sometimes I will respond, and sometimes Mr. Lochner, who's also, responds on behalf of the board. So we were in communication about these things, and we knew that these issues were addressed by the district. So one way or the other, they are always addressed.
Back to him.
Yep. So, thank you again. And the last one that I have here is from Mr. Joshua Chen.
Hello, I'm the youngest one here. Great. It's unfortunate I'm the youngest one here, but my question does pertain to this issue. I graduated in 2020, so I'm one of the COVID graduates, unfortunately. And through my 12 years of being in the Brentwood School District, I've noticed a couple things. One of them is addressing the scholarship issue. Recently, I believe in 2017, Governor Cuomo passed the legislation that would make state colleges tuition free for all students who make under $125,000 a year, families. And ever since I've been through my 4 years of high school, I've noticed that no one knows that this program exists. No one knows what TAP is. No one knows that there's other things besides FAFSA or FastWeb scholarships. And there's a lot of disengagement between, I would say, administration, guidance, and the students. I don't want to name my guidance counselor out of, I guess, I don't want to ruin his reputation in a sense. He never spoke to me about my college career. All the students who had him, they never spoke to him. He cared more about his basketball games than us. Again, I'm not going to say names. And it appears the only counselors that did care were the Sonderling counselors, which is who I went to apply for my colleges, talk about scholarships. And I think there is a disconnect, like I said, between what goes on at the board, what goes on at the administration, guidance, and then comes back to the students. For example, I spoke to so many friends during last year when they were applying for colleges. None of them knew about the Excelsior Scholarship, and so many students in this district. Already, the average income in this district is $82,000. So everyone should qualify, theoretically. Everyone should go to college for free. Yet the teachers, the administration, the guidance, there's no posters anywhere in the school that tell them, hey, look, you guys can go to college for free. It's just, all right, graduate, get out, bye. And it's unfortunate because I see so many of my students suffering, saying, how am I going to pay, how am I going to pay? And I say, oh, I'll help you with this. They have to come to me. Someone who's 19, someone who's not elected to anybody, not getting paid, and I'm just like, I'll try the best I can. But I do believe there should be more programs, and maybe there are, but perhaps they need to be communicated more effectively and efficiently to the students. And one solution I've thought of is hiring more guidance counselors, perhaps removing some that have different views on how to guidance students. Like I said, 4 years, it's unfortunate, I've only met with my counselor maybe 5 times. And I'm C, I should be like A, B, C, A, B, C, I'm like one of the first ones. I think, when you have a counselor that has a conflict of interest with another club or another organization, it becomes an issue with how they're going to be able to help the students. And on top of that, when I talk about helping the students, there's also other issues that are affecting our community right here. There's hundreds of students that are undocumented in our schools. And however you feel about it, however you feel about the undocumented issue, we don't want kids starving. We don't want families having to not pay rent. There is another issue. There's an excluded workers fund in this state that is giving $15,000 cash, up to $15,000 cash to families that are undocumented. Why is there no communication between that to the students? I recently reached out to your office, Mr. Lochner. I'm supposed to email you. I'm sorry, I'm always busy. To get you flyers to post in your school because there is so many students that need the help. I've had so far 10 students I had help apply for their families. Because again, they don't get, these families don't get health insurance, they can't get food stamps, they missed all the stimulus checks, they couldn't get unemployment, so they're starving. They literally have to come to the food pantry. I know Miss Amy Dan, she helped me get the students in those food pantries, and I appreciate her. But I think there needs to be a stronger communication with the students on so many different things that can help them. I emailed I'm not saying his name, I emailed my guidance counselor about the Excelsior Scholarship, no response. I emailed another guidance counselor, no response. And it's very unfortunate that there's so many opportunities that their students have to succeed, have free tuition college. I have to pay nothing to get my political science degree, nothing, and I'm so appreciative of that. All these taxpayers here are paying for that. And I'm pretty sure they all are happy that I'm getting my degree for free, because I'm, the next line worker. We need that to share with all the students, all these programs. I would love if you guys could please do something about that, because I feel like for me, that's the biggest failure the school did on me. They didn't, show us the programs that are out there. They just showed us FAFSA, one workshop, there you go, done. Thank you.
Mr. Chen, thank you so very much for your comments. Mr. Lusha, is there anything that you want to?
No, it's great to see you, Joshua. I am so sorry, about that. I certainly will talk to Mr. Abenis. I mean, we do, as a matter of fact, just this week, we had a senior information night over in the high school where that information, I think, was disseminated. I'm sorry, that it wasn't to you, but you really, you know what? You made me rethink of some things. I'm obviously very aware of it. I know the guidance counselors are, but I will call up Mr. Bennis tomorrow, who's the coordinator of guidance, and make sure we do a better job of making sure every student knows that. I was under the impression it was being told, because I think it's it's called the Excelsior program that Governor Cuomo started several years ago. It is terrific. As you know, you get free tuition to a SUNY school. You do have to remain in New York State, obviously, when you graduate. There's a couple of other stipulations in there. But why that's not being given to every single student is beyond me. But I'll make sure that it is, to be honest with you.
Thank you very much. So with that being said, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn public session at 10:57 p.m. Could I have a motion, please? Motion by
Motion.
Trustee Gonzalez Prescott. Second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Holder. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you very much.